Hey, how's it going? Hold on a second. I have music going, but I don't want to get dinged for copyright, so it can't be loud enough for you to hear. For you to hear. Hi. Please look at my signs. Oh, shoot, I'm still plugged in. Well, I hope you can see it better than I can. So there's like a full moon, I think tomorrow or later tonight, and also an eclipse of that moon, and I think there's another eclipse like right on top of that. So I mean, I don't think the same day, but soon after. And I don't know about you, but I've definitely been feeling like some kind of way. I don't know. It changes a lot. And it's hard to tell, like, if it's my stuff or if it's some kind of, like, very, really old thing that like, you know, from like before my time, like ancestral history type clearance that I'm doing. So I mean, that could be it, but it could be that and or a whole bunch of other things. And I don't know about you, but like in the stuff that I've been seeing, like the spiritual stuff that I watch for, oh great, no, that's going to drive me crazy. For quite some time, they've been talking about, like a couple of years and months and months and months, talking about revelations happening, like things coming into the open that we had no idea were happening, like just coming out of the blue for just about everybody, and horrifying things, and you know, I think we all kind of get an idea of what kind of horrifying, since this whole Epstein business has been more in the news than ever, you know, and it seems to be making our president very uncomfortable. I mean, he's not the best at stealth. We're not supposed to notice that he's trying to hide something, but he can't, like, he just unbidden will start talking about it, and that invites questions. If you're in a courtroom, you entered it into the record, so I guess we can talk about it now, even if we weren't supposed to. You gotta laugh. So, that, I think maybe the reason why, and I'm just speculating here, and you know, I did show the signs to point out that on one of them it does say that this here is opinion commentary, so please don't drop me in a hole. Okay, I pulled some cards. I'm just gonna keep talking. And so there's stuff like that is coming out, and not that you need to focus on that. There's all kinds of news happening. There's like pop culture news, and I'm sure, I don't know which one, but I'm sure there's some sports news. There's a lot of teams and sportses. I can't believe somebody's not out there playing something. Anyway, oh, that's right, they've been talking about FIFA coming here to the States, and that, you know, from what I know about FIFA is from John Oliver, and it's not a good look for FIFA. And, but you know what I thought was funny? Well, I mean, I guess it's kind of funny that the corrupt organization is heartily invited by the corrupt president, because everybody's gonna make some money, but Ooh, just like football, European or the rest of the world, football, the rest of the world outside the United States, just in general, and it's kind of like not a sports fan, not a football, soccer fan. Like, if our team wins, great. Yay! But what I've seen in, like, movies, and I've read about it in fiction and in, like, the press, is in particular the one that disturbs me. I was going to say I don't know why, but it might be because I also have some of the black going on. But it's just bad. It's not a good thing no matter who you are. And it is that a lot of people with, like, like really poor, like, we don't even know what poor looks like here in the United States, kind of poor that these people have to endure, and like a warlord could come through and loot and pillage and everything else, and take your children and make them child soldiers and screw up their little heads for the rest of their lives. And it's, nothing we have going on here is, even in a hot spot, is anywhere near approaching as bad as what some places in Africa have been or are, for the people that have to live there. And so they might be, like, in poverty, like we say poor, but, I guess there's degrees, and they're at, like, a low one when you're at poverty. And so they, like, put together all the money they can, and they have a child that's talented at the football, so everything goes to this kid's talent, and hopefully he's gonna go and become a big star and earn a lot of money, and everything will be great. So the common thread in these stories, though, because they're not happy, is that, they're already poor. They go through, it gotta be, like, even worse, hell, to be able to support this kid's dream, and then they send them all the way to Europe, like, on their own, because that's all they can afford. And then the kid, they might hear from a couple of times again, and then never again, and you don't know what happened to them, and you don't hear anything from the people they were supposed to go to, or whoever he was dealing with is suddenly nowhere to be found, and it's a bunch of kids turning up missing situation. One of many nasty black ventricles of that, rot in the biosystem of humanity. And so, just by association, and it already doesn't have a great reputation, eventually they're going to end up, like, under the, like, within distance of FIFA. And just like with the modeling, organizations, that gets kind of squirrely too, with younger people and the adults too, like with the women and probably the men too, I don't know. The people that, like, do that stuff and are patrons of it, they don't, like, advertise that they're doing it. It's crazy. I don't know this on, like, any kind of personal authority, but it just seems like it's been a thing for so long that clearly it's on some level accepted, and then the secret that everyone has to keep is also accepted, and then nobody's going to rat anybody else out. And so I just think that's been going on for so long, it's got to be, like, way more widespread than anyone has any idea, because another of the revelations, at least for me, over like even before the ones I'm talking about started happening, is they're just popping up like eruptions everywhere. That this one's involved in it. That one, it had an organization doing it. This organization was doing it behind the scenes that purported to be like save the children or something like that. And that's not new either, because like I said, it's been going on forever, and on some level it's accepted because patrons that want to do it are powerful apparently and can exert that much control, probably as a group, but that's just kind of a thing that's out there. I'm not saying anything new, but it sure seems perversive. But pervasive is what I wanted to say. Also perversive. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And then, like, in the middle of it, you get, like, okay, so, like, I had my first tarot card reading the other day, and it was very rewarding. I mainly got it because I had a situation, and I thought I knew some stuff, but I knew I wasn't clear on other stuff. And so when I got it, it was like they told me all these things, and it was like check, 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 and check. And then they told me some things I hadn't thought about, and I was like, oh wow, that's daunting. Like, but it wasn't like that big of a deal, although it did illuminate to me some certain things have got to be handled in my life, and they didn't get handled properly because I have just not been holding on the reins. I haven't been holding on to them very tightly, like a drunk cow person, girl, woman, whatever I'm going for. Anyway, cards. I have some from the... What the heck? I always have to look. Oh, I thought it was a different deck. It's some from the Gemstone Whispers deck, and then a couple from the Messages of Cosmic Oracle deck, which was the deck I was using in my last video, and then I was shuffling them to put them away, and these two kind of popped out, and so I have two from that deck. And I think I'm going to start with the gemstone ones. So the first card is Meteorite. Too hot to handle. The subtitle is Unexpected. Sorry, I'm getting comfortable and not being close enough to the mic. Okay, so the subtitle is Unexpected. And the finest of pleasures are always the unexpected ones. That's kind of like I was just talking about that, you know. Although most of what was happening in the thing that I was just talking about, my personal reading, most of it was expected. One question that I didn't specifically ask anything. My questions were I kept to myself, but I did say, yeah, there's this other one thing that I didn't ask, and since we got time, and I said, well, what the hell was he doing, like, knowing what I was talking about, you know? And since the reader was talking to my guides, I figured they would also know, but he just didn't end up answering that question, so that is not a thing I like. Like, if I ask you a question, freaking answer me. Anything, grunt, raise an eyebrow, something, but don't, like, nothing. Don't do that. Don't go there. Okay, sorry. Sorry, that was bad. Okay, is there oh my gosh, okay, I'm just tripping out. I guess this could be like a symbol for the unexpected. Have you ever seen a black rose? So I'm looking at this and I'm like, well, I've never noticed someone laid a flower on there. And then I realized what looked like a black rose and what also looked like the stem, there's no stem that is this color because the color is on fire. But I'm going to point out the part that looked like a black rose. And see that part right there? And then the stem would be this part coming down, and there's like a thorny part and everything, but yeah, there's no stems that color. Do you see what I mean about the rose part? Oh, I guess this is part as well. Anyway, in the midst of like wreck, riot, and ruin, comes this thing for a moment, a vision of beauty that is like, you can get them, but they're kind of rare, black roses. They don't, I think they'll do something to them artificially to make them that color, although I don't know that for certain. But I don't see them like a lot. They're not common, I guess is what I'm saying. So yeah, unexpected. The finest of pleasures are always the unexpected ones. So symbolic of what is a black rose with a flaming stem, I wonder. Okay, so the next stone, the next stone is chalcedony. It always, I like it. I like those like milky, watery, shiny bars of soap. The subtitle of this one is Create, and it says, life isn't about finding yourself, life is about creating yourself. I actually have something to say about that. It's not my own something, but I've been listening to Bashar, I've mentioned a few times. And that is an entity, I think, Arcturian, that is channeled by this German guy named Daryl Anka. And he just answers questions, you know, and has pretty good advice, and he's jokey, but he's snarky, and he likes to just get you, you know, like people say cool a lot in reaction to something he said, and he's like, what are you talking about the temperature? What happened? Like, is that him being pedantic? Pedantic? Is he pedantic? I was going to say, is he a pedantic a-hole? I mean, sometimes he's kind of bitchy, but deal with it, I guess. He's also very funny, and even if he gets sort of kind of snippy, I guess, he always, like, repairs it, you know, so... He's just, like, poking fun at us, silly apes. So, the part on here about life is about creating yourself, he gets a lot of questions about other dimensions, and one of them is always a response that he'll have to the dimensions is that we are in different ones, like billions a minute, and I'm like, and you're like changing dimensions that many times, or something crazy like that. Some measure of time where you're doing billions of shifts, right? And you're not noticing them because the places you're shifting to, according to Bashar, are so similar to where you started out, or where you think you are, or where, you know, don't overthink it, or you'll just get lost. But it looks enough like where you started out that you're not even noticing anything's different. And I've talked about that too. And you know, I was watching, when I started talking about it more lately, it kind of coincided with when I started watching him again. But it was already a topic that I talked about a lot. So, I mean, to me, this is great because it just kind of helps inform the moment. Just real quick, like, the moment, you have choices. So the moment can be what you direct it to be, you know, like that's you creating yourself and also your surroundings and, you know, whatever you need in the moment, because we actually do have the ability to do that, and you don't have to know anything particularly special or woo-woo or magic tricks or even magical seeming. You can just change people's mood by showing up, because you make them happy, you make them comfortable, you make them feel good, and that's a change. That's a, like, if they were like depressed and everything was gray before you walked in, and you walked in and all of a sudden the sun is out and let's go have a party. That's a change. That's a shift. I think that's what he's talking about. And then I'm sure there's, you know, other degrees of dimensional travel that you might need some sort of technology or a ship for, or some such thing, but I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about stuff that we could actually do that would make the more skilled level of dimensional travel more accessible to our to our monkey ape brains. Okay. Okay, so the next card is Ruby. Is it? Oh, it's Ruby. Okay, so here it is. It's very nice. That's a very masculine ring, I think. Just my personal opinion commentary on the matter. So the subtitle is Infinity. Stop acting so small. You are the universe in ecstatic motion. I will catch up, Little Tomato. I was just talking about that. We, you know, underestimate our ability. I think that telling us that we have power, and it's one of those words that, for some reason, I think we're kind of misinterpreting somewhat, because I don't think what is meant by we have this power and it's untapped and unused, and, you know, we have to discover it and then learn how to work it, and, you know, that type of talk. But I think the power that we do have, we have to, like, change our perception of power, or at least make room for another interpretation of it. Like, it's not physical strength, it's not like overwhelming charisma, or like the ability to like strike fear in people, or to have a bunch of money. Like, those are very human 3D concepts, you know. And so this stuff is more like the kind of power you gain over yourself, and that begins to open so many doors, and you have to go inside to even begin with that, you know. Like, it's something we have, a lot of us, a really hard time with, and I'm always reminded of when COVID struck for the first time, and so many people just could not handle, like, people that were alone and really young, like, you know, in their 20s or early 30s, and just like it just breaking them all the way, because they couldn't handle all of the time they were spending without the social stimulus and fresh air and exercise and whatever else that you would have normally in your life if you weren't locked away in your house because of disease, like it not being safe to go outside. And so, but that is it's almost, or maybe almost. Okay, so that came up not randomly. It didn't come up almost as an excuse for us to have time to sit and contemplate and be so detached from our normal lives, where when you're not at work, you're worried about work, or you're worried about work calling to call you back into work, or they want to ask you to do some work at home, or, like, you're away from that whole dynamic. You're not even going to see other people from work unless they live in your house already. And then everything else of life. Like, for most people, it's really unusual to spend days just sitting around your own house and not going out. For me, not so unusual. And so for me, like, COVID thing and just being inside, I guess it sucks for you guys because it's pretty normal for me. But I think that happened, or it happened, and we all at some point kind of agreed to have it happen this way, so we would have that opportunity to have undisturbed time alone where you just couldn't escape yourself. The distractions were just not as many, not as profuse, and so there's a lot of time to just sit around and like get to know yourself, and it's uncomfortable for a lot of people because people hate therapy and they don't want to go to the shrink. You don't have the shrink there, but you start thinking about stuff that you usually push down and ignore, and those tend to demand attention at some point, and by that time it's like you should have dealt with it to begin with, because now it got bad or something like that. And so the power that we have is to figure ourselves out, like wait, why am I even acting that way? Or why did I do this thing that I knew was not a right thing to do? I have to see the people all the time, people in person that I did it to. They know I did it, or they don't know I did it. And I'm just going off the top of my head with that, but I'm just saying, well, that is the kind of situation where we'll have something that we know we need to deal with on a lot of levels, but we can't, don't want to, for reasons like, we're all different, so it could be a lot of different things, but that's just an example to work from. And so having to just be sitting around with yourself, for a lot of people, it kind of just like everything that they were avoiding, just the containment doors break, and I'm seeing like shipping containers full of coal, and the sides are just falling open, and it's all falling down on the person sitting there all like they were already bummed out. And so it doesn't have to be that way, like, even if we have a bunch of stuff that's sat around forever, you don't have to do it all at once. Just pick up one piece of coal and start there. Deal with that one and then chuck it when you're done and grab another. Don't flip out, don't stress. I mean, I'm seeing you like, the only part of you that's sticking out is like, you got your arms resting on coal. Basically, you ain't going nowhere for a minute. Might as well do some housekeeping. Okay, so next card is Obsidian. That name I always feel like there should be a dun 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 after it. And also I know the stone is black. It's a whole thing in my brain. Okay, so the subtitle is Death. That's death. I don't know why I'm so giddy. I'm not really talking about happy, fun subjects. Okay, death is the subtitle. To the well-organized mind, death is but the next great adventure. I don't disagree. And so, are you afraid of dying? Well, don't be. Why waste your time? What's that going to do? How is that going to affect it at all if you're just all, I'm scared? Stop it. Okay, so, I used to have a caregiver, and she lives in the next town over, but both of our towns are pretty small, so it's not that far away, and there's a bunch of little cemeteries in the area. In fact, there's one at the at the top of my road, right at the end there, and then there's another one at the other end, and it's a couple blocks over by the other end of my road. And they're just dotted all over the place, and they're like full because they're small. And so we were just having a discussion that like her mom had passed away, and so we were having a discussion about how hard it was to get a plot. And she still has an elderly father to she has to put somewhere eventually. And there was always like a very thin layer between our brains when we were together. And she's the one that heard me thinking about her, and I didn't say anything out loud, and she turned around and said, "What'd you say?" So we're sitting in the car, and I'm thinking, she's probably not into cremation, because she's very opinionated, but kind of old-fashioned, and not really into, like, changing her ways. Or her family, like, actually, I take it back. She probably would have been into cremation, just because, my God, you can just do it, and then whoever's buried, you can put them together. You can put everybody together. So anyway, but her family, especially like her parents, and then she did end up saying that her dad would not be into like cremating her mom, or he didn't want to be cremated, and like they just had their ideas about it. And so she starts talking about it, and she said what I was just saying that I had said in my head. And so I said aloud, like I said, I spoke it. Well, the thing, like, she expressed some kind of, like, apprehension about cremation. And I said, well, the thing about it is, when you die, the body you were in is not you anymore. It's your old container. And you know, cremate it or bury it, you have changed composition. You're not that form anymore. You're energy at this point. But I used it like, you know, they go from being like your person, and then they're cremains, you know, which are not ashes. They're like bones that are burned up. But anyway, that is like a new form of the person after you do that. Like, and then they're gonna decay and do it the slow way underground. So same process is like, you know, changes are happening. Like, even the part that's not you anymore, like underground, is changing. The part that's not you anymore is now cremains. And so that's, I don't know, that's what, you know, death is but the next great adventure. You could think of it, like, I think much easier if you can let go of the old way of everybody has to be buried and taking up a bunch of space that we don't really have, by the way. Like, we need somewhere to put our trash, for God's sake. Okay, so last card of the Gemstone Whispers card is... Why do always get this card I don't know how to pronounce. Charoite. And the subtitle is Destiny. Fate is like a strange, unpopular restaurant, filled with odd little waiters who bring you things you never asked for and don't always like. And I just realized I wasn't facing here, so let me do it again. Fate is... That's probably going to be really loud. Fate is like a strange, unpopular restaurant, filled with odd little waiters who bring you things you never asked for and don't always like. I'm getting that as a manifestation question. Or answer, I guess I should say. So, basically, say you really want something, you pray for, you wish, whatever your technique is, you put it out there into the source material that be really cool if you could have this thing, if this thing happened, you know, like, that's what I want for Christmas, you know, whatever. And so, you wait and you think, it's not happening, where is it? Because you have in your mind already an image of what you want and how you would like it to be. And if you haven't yet cottoned on to the idea that it might not come looking the way you want or expect it to, it might not look like anything you want, let alone what you asked for. The strange, unpopular, the odd little, nope, wrong line. The things you never asked for and don't always like. You might be wrong about that. They might be exactly what you asked for and think you don't like. And it's getting served to you because the order service that you put your order into, this is what they sent you because they know best. They know what you need. You know what you want. I think they try to give you a little bit of both. But the power that we have is to find in those, come on, eyes, things you never asked for and don't always like. We have the power to turn them into things that we would certainly ask for in the future, or had someone asked, we might have said that, or, you know. And as to not liking things like that you don't always like, well, that just implies sometimes you do. And so broccoli may taste like rat armpit to you, but you know it has benefits, and you might go ahead and eat it if you were somewhere where you didn't want to look like an obstinate 4-year-old, you know, like a engagement dinner or something with parents and stuff, and like, you know, like, you just bite the broccoli and move on with your life. It's not that big of a deal. And that's using your power. I mean, like I said, you could act like a 4-year-old and that would be unpopular, or you could, you know, grow up and just, it's one night, you don't have to eat broccoli all night long. Like, it's not an endless broccoli buffet and you're chained to the broccoli table. You know, like, sometimes stuff is cock-a-doo-doo, but unavoidable, and so you just do it, and then you move on, and then, hey, maybe, like, wow, this isn't, like, exactly what I want, but it's pretty fucking cool, and I can have it, you know? So, anyway, the two cards I have from the Messages of Cosmic Oracle cards are... Oh, they don't have titles in that, so I'll give you a look. Have I gotten this one before? There was one that I got where there was a planet crashing into another one. It's like kind of a violent situation. It's funny. It's like, what was I just watching? I think Foundation. And, no, sorry, don't mean to yell. It was Strange New Worlds, and the navigator of the starship was on a solo mission on, like, she ended up through, oh, sorry, I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil everything. But anyway, she ends up on this Strange New World, and she crashed, so she's got to, like, do something to get out of there. And the conditions are extremely odd, and, like, she just never seen, she doesn't know what to do with them. And one of the odd conditions is that there was, like, debris. I don't know, there's just, like, chunks of boulder just, like, hanging in the air. Like, there was some weird gravity there, now that I think about it, because she wasn't floating away. Other stuff on the ground that clearly wasn't, like, attached to the ground also was not floating away. So I don't know what was happening with the sky, but a storm started, and so it was like doing like earth storm kind of stuff, like windy and whatever. But then, like, the chunks in the sky are blowing around or something. It was very chaotic. And then there was a planet, and it was like, wow, that looks super close. I think she even said that. Not, I think she even said that. She probably said it, or I probably wouldn't have thought of it. So she was like, that's really close. And then the planet ran into the planet she was on, and I believe it actually crushed her. Oh, never mind. Sorry, it's so hard not to spoil. Hence the sign. Anyway, back to the card. So it's okay to slow down. Yep. Put on the brakes on that. Well, sometimes, oh, I didn't read the top part. No one said this whole life thing was a race. It's okay to slow down. So yeah, maybe while you were driving your planet, you were trying to do too many things at once. Maybe your shoe or article of clothing hung up on the accelerator pedal. Do starships have accelerator pedals? They have foot pedals. Do they have bicycle pedals? It's okay to slow down. It's probably a good idea too, because maybe you could avoid crashing your planet. Alright, last one of those. Oh, I guess I should keep them separate. Oh, put cards in the wrong box. Okay, this one says, a little bit of faith goes a long way. Remember that. I'm just going to say, believe in yourself. And it looks like that space spiral is God talking to this little teeny tiny figure. You got this. It's okay. You are powerful. There ain't nothing around you, but you can make something out of it. I'm just free associating at this point. But yeah, a little bit of faith goes a long way. So, when placed in unbelievable circumstances, have a little faith, believe in yourself. You'll get through it. Okay, thank you and good night.